Friday is finally here, and with Friday comes a new episode of JoJo. I think we should declare Fridays, at the very least for spring 2016 of anime, JoJo Day, because this series is fucking epic. And when I see a new episode of JoJo, I just get happy. And seeing this episode 2 of part 4, I'm just happy to see JoJo once again being animated. So, this episode reveals a lot, lets us know that there's going to be a lot more threat in part 4, and also, we get to see one of the villains that were already introduced get defeated. Now, let's talk about one of the main crucial points of this episode that really answered something that many might be already asking, and I did see some Chibits in the comment section last week discussing this, so I'm going to mention now, because it's one of the main points of discussion when it comes to this episode. For one, Josuke's stand ability. His stand ability last week and this week, it was showcased that he can revert certain objects or matter, whatever, and go back. For instance, revert it to a form to where it's completely fine again. For instance, what he did with, other people when he punched a hole through that woman last week and the dude, and then he fixed them up like they were brand new. Even though they were a little bit different, they looked a little bit different than they used to, he still fixed them up properly. And his stand ability looked incredibly broken, because he could actually do some serious injuries to someone and then bring them back to full health. And this is the main thing I saw some asking. Does this mean that Josuke could possibly avoid death? For instance, if, someone was to get killed, could Josuke, touch their body and then bring them back to life? Could that possibly happen? Well, this episode decides to take the time to let us know, no. Josuke's stand ability may be broken. He may be able to, fix things that seem to be impossible to fix, but he cannot bring someone back if they already died, and he cannot heal himself if something happens to his body. So, this adds a lot more threat to the series of part 4, because if Josuke could actually bring people back to life, and if he could also heal himself, it would demote the threat that certain villains, or upcoming villains, or different fights we have, that it would have. Because, for instance, if Josuke could heal himself, it wouldn't have that same meaning to, like, holy shit, this character can die at any second. And that's a really good thing. I'm really glad that the mangaka decided to dive into that and explain more of the stand ability of Josuke and allow us to understand how his ability works. But let's look at this from another perspective. For one, his ability at this time, it's awesome, because, he can do anything he wants. For instance, like, he could probably punch a hole through someone, and they can be healed back together. But if, for some reason, that this person was killed instantly, he cannot fix them. So, let's put it like this. Let's say, Jotaro, let's use Jotaro as an example. Let's say Jotaro, let's say someone shot him in the head, okay? Let's just use that as an example. Someone shot Jotaro in the head and killed him instantly. He's dead. He fucking drops down, he's dead. Well, Josuke could not heal that. He could not fix that because Jotaro died instantly. And that's the thing. If a life is lost before Josuke gets there, it's GG for that said person. So, if the person dies instantly, you can't fix that. So, that is some of the things that Josuke is going to have issues with, because with upcoming fights and, probably the villains of part 4, there's probably going to be characters that are going to be fucking ridiculous, because, to already introduce a character, for instance, our MC, Josuke, that can heal people, this means that there's going to be probably villains in the future that are going to have insane stand abilities that go up against Josuke to counter him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going to go. So yeah, very good point of this episode to kind of explain more about his stand ability, and also let us know that people are not going to be coming back to life like Dragon Ball Z, and you also have it to where Josuke cannot heal himself if something bad happens. So if he has like his arm fucking cut off, he's not healing that shit back. It's fucking gone. So that's very good information we got with this episode. So, getting off of that, let's talk about the other stuff. So, Angelo, he's one of the main focuses of this episode, and he was kind of the main focus of last week's episode. He was the villain that was introduced, and majority were probably already thinking that maybe Angelo was the main villain or something like that, but apparently he is not. He actually gets defeated with this episode, and he seems like more of those type of side villains you would see in a story. For instance, like a little villain that gets introduced and just kicked to the side like he's a piece of shit, and that's kind of what happens to him in this episode. Majority of the episode is spent focusing on him him and been taking him down, which they do at the end of the day. And the way he's handled and the way Josuke handles this villain was pretty funny, because it shows more of Josuke's stand ability and how broken it is if you think about it, because he could hurt someone, break their hand, and, you know, just demolish their body, and then demolish, like, let's say, an object or a wall. He could force this dude into the fucking object and fix it all back together, and he's literally together. He is, like, fused with the object that Josuke brought back. So, let's say, for instance, Josuke broke a wall, and then he threw this dude, like, in the wall where his body was, like, halfway through the wall, and then fixed the wall. He would be fused into the wall, which, that's pretty fucking bad. That means that you're not getting out of that wall, and if you're moving that wall, you're gonna fucking die. So, right there, that's pretty cool, too. So, Josuke's ability has a lot of ways to be very unique and interesting, but it also leads to a lot of interesting combat scenarios in the future. So, I like how Angelo is kind of being used as to showcase the abilities of the stand of Josuke. Now, besides that, let's talk about some of the things that is per usual of JoJo. That would be the animal violence. Oh my god. I talked about this in part 3, and I gotta say, man, the mangaka of JoJo really must hate dogs. Really must hate fucking dogs. It really hates fucking dogs. Because every single fucking JoJo, there's always a dog getting mutilated. And that's what happens. Episode 2, he couldn't even make it. He couldn't even make it to fucking episode 5. He couldn't even make it to episode 10, 3, whatever. Episode 2. Straight up, animal violence, dog gets its face completely ripped off by Angelo, and I'm like, yo, chill. So, yes, once again, one of the main central points that many know JoJo for is that animal violence, dogs getting fucked up and destroyed, and when you saw that dog shit on the ground and Angelo stepped on it, you knew for a fact some type of animal violence is probably going to happen, because if you look at past seasons of JoJo, there's always dogs getting messed up, and that's what happens, and that poor dog didn't deserve that. But what was even more brutal about that scene is that Angelo comes in, he bites the fucking dog's face off, and then as he's like munching on it, you have that blood of the dog, he opens this dude's jaw and spits all this freaking blood from the dog inside of this dude and puts his stand inside of his body, which is a very grotesque way to die. Oh my god, that was grotesque. And I'm willing to bet that the BD DVDs are going to look even better, though, when it comes to that gory scene, because, I mean, you saw a lot of, you know, censorship when it came to the black shading around certain characters that are getting harmed, and as you know, JoJo usually adds everything in. You just gotta wait for the BD DVDs to come in, and then they'll show everything, so that's very good for manga readers as well. So if you wanted to see the violence and stuff, you're going to probably get it when BD DVDs come out, so there you go on that. But yeah, episode overall, JoJo Part 4, Episode 2, very fun, great start to Part 4, cannot wait to see who is the main villain, and I love finding out more about Josuke's stand ability. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, please be safe, Chibi out.